All right, EDM 500, we are back. Again, this is EDM 500 with Dr. Jen Miller. I'm Alex Kramer, and our assignment today was to read and then do our video response on chapters 5 and 6 from our textbook. So we'll get into that right now. Chapter 5 is all about collecting quantitative data. So we've already talked about this in our readings, what qualitative versus quantitative data is, when to use either. And these chapters both just kind of dive into the specifics of both of those types of data and research. So the first one, chapter 5, is all about quantitative data. Kind of lays out what quantitative data is again, talks how to collect it, when to use it, things like that. So quantitative data is typically numeric, measurable. It can be part of a statistical analysis when you get to that point in your research. It can be collected from like surveys, from just looking at data or measuring things. And she then rolls out like a 5-step process for data collection. So there's a little bit of planning involved in the data collection for both of these. The first thing you need to do is decide who will be the participant. So find your population or your sample, secure permissions, decide what information you want to collect, like what exactly are we trying to measure here. Select and design the instruments that you're going to use for that data collection, and then obviously administer the data collection. She talks about the difference between a population and a sample. Population being like the whole group involved, the sample being kind of like a part of that group that you're gathering data from. And then it talks about kind of like the how. So big thing for data collection was like make sure it's standardized. So like everybody's kind of like all involved in the same process throughout the experiment and the data collection. The conditions need to be the same. There can be some practical concerns. Talks about kind of how to deliver the data collection. For me, it's online seems to be the easiest way. So it talks about using paper or whether you want to do it like face-to-face, through online data collection, through mail, stuff like that. And then some of the ethical concerns with that, and then making sure that your data is reliable or valid. So reliability is like consistency of the measurement, making sure that you're measuring it in a consistent way, and then validity is this actually like what I'm trying to measure? Is this data going to give me that? So chapter 5 was just all about that quantitative data, and it's just planning is essential in that process. That was a big takeaway from that. And then qualitative was chapter 6. So qualitative research focuses more on like finding like understandings, drawing conclusions from experiences or whatever your data may be that you're collecting. It's usually like narrative and text or visual data. So a lot of times there's like interviews going on with this, observations, documents, things like that. You want to use qualitative when you're trying to explore your topic. It's a lot easier if variables aren't really like known or defined within your topic. You might want to use qualitative to dig deeper and get some information from people. Typically how or why questions, and context is really important for qualitative data. You need to have a little bit more background information as to the problem you're trying to get data on, rather than quantitative. You're just kind of like gathering data, looking at the numbers, drawing conclusions. This qualitative requires a bit more context. It needs to come from a natural setting. So like you're just kind of observing. The researcher is a key instrument, and you'll kind of look at perspectives rather than like straight binary answers with quantitative data. So a lot of times, like approaches she talks about, you'll kind of kind of use like a data collection and analysis where, you know, you're using interviews, observations, documents, things like that. Analysis needs to be inductive. So like trying to find patterns, trying to like draw conclusions like, hey, these people all said this, these people all said this, maybe it's this, here's why. Like there's a lot more going on rather than just kind of cut and dry data collection here. Trying to draw conclusions based on other people's responses. And then, you know, same deal, like with qualitative data, like you want to find like validity in your answers. You want to make sure that the people that you're working with or the data you're collecting is trustworthy, is you know, reliable, and also valid. So really, that really deals a lot more with people. Qualitative data is kind of like you have a bit more context. You're trying to draw conclusions based on that context and the people that you're interviewing to come up with an answer based on that kind of research. So they're a bit more complex there rather than cut and dry, where, you know, qualitative, you're looking at, you know, phenomena sometimes or participants' perspectives, versus quantitative can be a bit more cut and dry. You're gathering data, you know, through different means, and then you're drawing conclusions from that data. Qualitative, you're kind of gathering answers, and then you're drawing conclusions based on different perspectives and answers in a very context-specific situation related to your research topic. So overall, it was good chapters. It was good to read, you know, about more of the differences and kind of how you would set up your research for both. I definitely think that my project will be a bit more qualitative in nature, research-wise, because I want to look into like people's perspectives around things. TBD about the topic, but it's kind of where we're at with that. So enjoyed reading chapters 5 and 6, and excited to keep chugging along in this class. So thanks for listening.